Good afternoon. My name is Grace Sonia Milano with AARP California. Welcome to everyone who is joining us live. Today we are here with a very special guest, Tuan Lam, founder and chief inspirator of Go Inspire Go, who's also a TV host, motivational speaker, and storyteller. Tuan will be sharing some inspirational tips to help keep our minds and spirits uplifted. We encourage you to share the stream now on your Facebook page so that interested friends and family may also participate in today's conversation. Also, feel free to ask questions that you may have for Tuan in the chat box. AARP California is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that works on behalf of our 38 million members nationally and 3.3 million members statewide to enhance the quality of life for all people as we age, which includes providing important information to support your physical and mental health. And then to that end, we're thrilled to have Tuan here with us to talk about personal, professional, and spiritual pick-me-ups during the holidays as we continue to face the health pandemic. Tuan, thanks so much for joining AARP California today. Can you tell us a little more about Go Inspire Go?
Grace, Sonia, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to chat with you. You guys are joining the party today because yesterday, Grace, Sonia, and I had a little pre-production chat, and we're like, we can't wait to chat. Anyway, yeah, so basically, I was a former TV reporter, and I was a co-host for a show on PBS. It's a statewide show called California Heartland. And while I was reporting the news and starting to do some more hosting on PBS, more of lifestyle-y stuff, so many people out in the field, when I was reporting the news, were like, Tuan, where is the good news? It's just gloom and doom and death and destruction. And I was sort of going through like a spiritual kind of a transition, if you will, in terms of like, you know, I don't want to report bad news every day and focus my energy on that. And so people started telling me about amazing stories about like the little 5-year-old girl who wanted to collect aluminum cans to feed the hungry and homeless in San Francisco. And mind you, this is like 2009. 2010, and this was before the last economic downturn. And so I just felt the hunger to start telling these stories about everyday heroes. So it was just me and an intern, and YouTube was sort of new, and I was like, I don't even know how to log on to YouTube, y'all, but I'm gonna get on here and I'm gonna just start telling stories because, you know, stories that inspire you to go get inspired, and then go and use your power to help others. So essentially, Go Inspire Go is a place where I tell stories about everyday heroes that inspire the hero. He inspires the hero in you to think about what you can do to help other people.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Wow. Could you tell us about one of your favorite stories?
Gosh, you know, there are so many favorite stories. It's almost like a parent saying, like, who's your favorite child, right? But one of my favorite, I'll just talk about Phoebe Russell, whom I just mentioned a little bit ago. So Phoebe Russell at the time was a 5-year-old girl who was in kindergarten, and she would see hungry and homeless people in San Francisco. Now, if y'all have been to San Francisco or any big city, New York, Seattle, LA, you know that there is a mental illness, and that's another really kind of pandemic, right? Mental illness and homelessness and all that. And she saw hungry homeless people and she was like, I feel so sad. One, two, she was like, I want to help. I don't know how to help. So she asked her mom, what can we do to help? And her mom says the food bank helps hungry homeless people. So she's like, oh, I want to help the food bank feed the hungry homeless people. And she was like, how do you do that? So she goes and she asks her kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Albert. She's like, Mrs. Albert, I want to help the food bank feed hungry people, and I want to collect aluminum cans because, you know, Daddy took her every week to, I guess, one of the local grocery stores, and they would put, you know, an aluminum can in the machine, and she gets 5 cents back. So her ROI was 5 cents for a can. So the teacher says, okay. She's like, I want to raise $1,000. And the teacher's like, honey, you know, as adults do, right? Like, we're all super pragmatic. We're like, you know, challenges and barriers and like what's the business plan. And you know, the teacher explained to her, honey, I want to encourage you, but you know, every year we do fundraisers and we raise $500 a year, and you want to raise $1,000 2 more months before school ends. That, let's, you know, I don't think that's realistic. Let's think about it. And she was like, I'm going to start writing letters. So she writes letters and asks for aluminum cans. And so, and she starts giving them to the community, friends, family, neighbors, right? Tens of thousands of cans come in. People start writing checks. And the companies that these parents and friends and community work for, they start matching it. So Phoebe then ends up raising almost $4,000, more than 4 times her amount, right? And that equals approximately, I'm Asian, but I'm kind of bad at math. So let me try to get my numbers straight here. So it's like 18,000-ish cans, 18,000 cans, right? And it gets even better. I saw this story, actually. It was a kicker on one of the local news stations, and the kicker is the last story, that feel-good story at the end. It's like 20-second voiceover that the anchor reads. And I'm like, I'm going to reach out to them. So I reached out to them, and what I can do is connect with people. I love reading, writing, and talking, right? I believe everybody has that gift. And what is your gift, right? So I'm like, I love to read, write, and talk, and I hope to inspire people to be better and do better. So how do I do that? And I'm like, well, I could tell her story. And at the end of all our videos and blogs, there's 3 quick action items on what you can do to help. Volunteer if you can, write a check if you can, and share this video if you can. 1 or 3. That's all I ask. Grace Sonia, 6 months later, it literally felt. I got my Christmas decorations here for you. I'm feeling festive today. This is the holidays, but I felt like it was Christmas. I was like, oh my God, I got an email from the food bank who was tracking the video, and it sort of went viral. And over so many people, like at the time, was it like 30,000 people at the time viewed the video, and we helped her in about 6 months raise over $20,000, which is now a lot of meals. And then after that, a year later, when she was, so that went from 80,000 to, I think it was like over 120,000 meals. And then a year later, when Phoebe graduated from her kindergarten class, she's in 1st grade, still getting her friends to volunteer. She was at her former kindergarten class, they had a plaque up, and the kids saw the plaque, and the new kids, and they were like, "Ooh, who's Phoebe? Why'd she get that plaque?" So the teacher showed her the kids the video, and 3 kids replicated the project, raised another $4,000, and a food bank, not food bank, but a food chicken company saw the contest. They messaged me. They gave her 15 tons of food, 15 tons of chicken to give to her cause, and over 200,000 people. Now that's well over the number now. It's been a while since I tracked it, but over 200,000 meals were served from this story.
That is incredible and so inspirational, how one person could just truly make a difference. That is inspiring. Well, so speaking of inspiring, Tran, what do you do to stay inspired? I mean, you've got this great website and are encouraging people to just take action and spread joy and love. What are you doing?
Wow, especially, that's such a great question. Thanks for asking. Especially in this time of so much darkness, right? How do we find the light? I mean, I believe that there are so many pandemics happening all at once. It's a big cluster, right? It's the COVID pandemic, right? It's the Black Lives Matter pandemic, right? And then there's another crisis that's happening with Asians getting attacked because of, I don't want to get political, but just because of an administration that calls it the China flu and all that. And gosh, the political divide, it's just so crazy, right? So one thing that I can do is realize that, while I can't control everything, I can control how I react to things, right? And so how do I react to this news? If somebody's being nasty to me or cutting me off while we're driving, I can work my compassion muscle, right? And realize that, what? When I was a kid, I had lost my aunt to breast cancer, and I would ride with her to get her treatments. And people would honk at her and cuss at her. Well, I admit she drove slow already. Auntie Hong would drive hella slow, and but she drove even slower. And so people would honk at her and cuss at her, and I'm like, what if I just stopped? And when people are rude to me or nasty, I'm like, well, I don't know if they had a bad day. I don't know if they're starving. I don't know if they have a job. We are all going through something. So I think personally we can control that and what we do to help nurture ourselves. eat well, exercise. I love exercising. Motion is lotion. Go on morning walks. So I believe morning rituals are very helpful, right? Especially while we're all working from home, if you're lucky enough to have a job. But I wake up every morning, I do my stretches, I sit in silence. If all you have time for is just 10 deep breaths, do your 10 deep breaths. You will reset and reboot. I know, right? So you going, you will reboot yourself, right? So 10 deep breaths, and I meditate, I go on a walk. And, people are like, how you got time for this? Well, I get up extra early, and then I try to eat well. I try to have conversations like this with friends. I mean, now that you're my friend, we're going to be talking about this a lot, even offline. But it's just like being, what you can control is who you're around. If there's people that don't believe in COVID or want to like not wear masks or whatever you don't believe in, expunge them. So, think about those, think about what you can do for your own personal, well-being so that you can give more of yourself to others.
Tran, thank you so much for sharing what you do. I think what we're seeing is just a lot of people working from home. And at least for myself, there has been this merge of workspace and personal space. And so the two have blended. And, I wonder if you have any tips for people like me who are still trying to stay connected and professionally inspired while they're in this work from home space?
Oh, that's such a good question. So I think it is really important to, I'm not going to call you on it, but I'm like, are you wearing pajama pants? Are you wearing legit pants? I'm not going to go there. No, I'm just kidding. But I think, again, going back to having some sort of routine is very important. Remember, just because we may be physically alone, not with coworkers or not seeing family as often, I know I'm not, but you don't have to feel lonely, right? So you can have these like certain rituals with throughout the day or some sort of routine. So again, I wake up, I drink water or tea, right? And then I have my coffee. I love some coffee, I'm not gonna lie. Then I move a little bit and stretch, and then I start doing some work. I take breaks when I'm on, because I'm on the computer all day. Then I make time to connect virtually or distance walk with somebody in my pod or a friend. But just having like building in those the schedule, like in your schedule, block off if you are working on an assignment and have to write a blog. Block off 2 hours for yourself. Block off a 20 or 30-minute walk. I think that's really important, and I think that really a key to all this is mindfulness, and that's what sitting for 10 minutes, 10 seconds, 10 breaths helps remind you to do. It's like an exercise, right? Mindfulness is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the more you are mindful of when you start reacting when that person is being nasty, that cuts you off, right? Or a coworker or a family member that's being ratchet, right? So I think that having that routine, getting dressed, combing your hair, is really important. And I think having that routine kind of really shifts and lifts your spirits.
Gosh, I need to be better about that. I have an Outlook calendar that I use to keep my work appointments, but why not block time, like you had said, for exercise, for my mindful moment, and to eat that salad that I just haven't
Right?
that I need to eat. Well, thanks again for that. Those are great tips. Looks like we actually have some questions in the chat.
Okay.
One of the questions being, I've found it challenging to focus on creative projects during this chaotic time. Any tips for clearing the noise and tapping into artistic inspiration?
Oh, and I see Rachel Stone asked that. Hey, Rachel, thanks for asking. Gosh, wow, what a great question, because I feel like now more than ever, we need to have compassion and kindness for ourselves, right? Because how many of us, I'm a creative, you're creative, right? A lot of us are creatives that are watching. And how many of us, like, projects have been thwarted? I'll raise my hand right now. I was working on several multimedia projects and everything dried up, right, during the pandemic. I was at the time let y'all in on a little secret because we haven't launched it yet. But we filmed with a live studio audience a talk show called the Twan Lam Show, and essentially it's about your people that you would like Google and you'd be like, oh my God, they're amazing. Or you see on social media and you're like, they're killing it, right? But they talk, I get them to open up and talk about their ups and downs and all around and, you know, being at rock bottom, you know, and challenges, stay with me here. Challenges are here to teach us and grow us. It's intelligence happening on how we need to correct. And I think it's really important that, you know, because these things like this show was put on pause, there was a distributor I was talking with and all this stuff, and it was just starting to gain momentum. A lot of the local TV stations in the Bay Area contacted me to do interviews, and I did interviews with them. But you know, that came to a screeching halt. And instead of being mad or sad, I was actually like, well, I'm actually kind of glad right now because I really believe in, you know, I'm a big Oprah fan. And she always says there's nothing such thing as coincidences. There's only divine order. And just know that wherever you are supposed to be is where you are and make the best of wherever you're at. So your answer, Rachel, is how do we, you know, focus on these creative projects? Don't be self-compassion. Don't be mad at yourself. I see myself getting angry at myself sometimes too. And I have to exercise that awareness muscle, right? Of, oh, wow, I started the show. Or, oh, you know, when the pandemic, throughout the pandemic, I took a pause because we moved from San Francisco to Sacramento recently to be with family. But I started this Style Your Spirit, you know, a blog. And essentially it's one interior design tip because I love me some interior design, but one interior design tip and one spiritual tip. Because I really believe that the place around you really reflects the space inside you, right? If you have a cluttered home, then that means you're cluttered all up inside, right? And it's okay if you are, it's just about being aware of it, right? So, you know what? I'm being kind to myself and saying, you know what? Style your spirit. I'm going to start it up again. Okay, I said it here. I didn't admit it to anybody yet, but that's one of the things that was on my list. But you know what? I had a friend that died because of COVID early on. I've had family that I'd had to be with and to be mindful of and take care of. So, you know what? I'm just going to be kind to myself and know that it's divine timing. So make a little bit of time. If it's 1 week you have, an hour a week you have, hour a month, and minute a day to do whatever really excites you and just follow that excitement.
Well, I'm excited to be with you here right now, Twan. Thanks so much for giving us that tip on, remind us of the website,
StyleYourSpirit.co, not .com, but .co.
StyleYourSpirit.co. Thanks so much for that. I could always use style tips, and if I could style my spirit too, I am
yay! You're winning.
Winning. Well, for those of you who are just joining us on the live stream, my name's Grace Sonia Milano with AARP California, and today we are here with special guest, my new best friend, Twan Lam, Chief Inspirator of Go Inspire Go. We are talking about personal, professional, and spiritual pick-me-ups for the holidays and as we face the health pandemic. And if you have any questions for Twan, go ahead and put those in the comment box and hopefully we could get to those. And speaking of the comment box, I see another question here. Oh, this one's a good one. Do you have tips for finding inspiration in the morning? I love this question because I'm not known to be a morning person. What advice do you have for folks who need some motivation in the morning? Asking for a friend.
Thank you. And that's very Shay. I see her. I see you, Shay. I see you. So great question. Okay, so this is my little Twan ninja tip. Y'all ready? So, and I actually blogged about this on styleyourspirit.co. But one of the tips is to have a room, like a room that you can sit in silence if you can. And it doesn't even have to be a room. If you're living in a studio up in San Francisco, it's all good. Find a little corner and put your favorite rug or your favorite blanket or your favorite candle. right? Roll out your yoga mat. I have like my favorite little yoga mat, and not yoga mat, but it's like a meditation cushion. And I put one of my favorite candles on, and I just stare at the flames. Or I look at I call it Freddy the fiddly fig from IKEA that was baby, baby, baby. And now it's like 10 feet tall because I talked to Freddy. But I stare at that and then just vibe off of that, and just sit. When I create and curate just a little space of my favorite things, I want to go to it in the morning, and I'm excited to go to it. So that's one of the tips. And I think once you realize, like, how many of y'all meditate and you're just sitting there and you're like, ain't nothing happening? I mean, that's me all the time, right? But what you could do is literally sit there and just take your 10 deep breaths and just breathe and think. I mean, I just think it's amazing that this heart is beating and this breath is coming through me, right? And that's keeping me alive. And if you just sit for 1 second and focus on your fingers, you can feel the energy in your fingers, right? And I learned that tip from Eckhart Tolle. Another thing that Shay, that you could do too, thanks for asking this question, is there's so many podcasts out there, right? I use Insight Timer. I love me some Insight Timer. Friend me on Insight Timer, y'all. It's like the Calm app, right? As well. There's so many apps that help guide you. So if you can't sit in silence, you can go to those apps. I do an amalgam of it. Some days I can sit for 10 seconds and 10 breaths only. And some days I can sit for literally 30 minutes to an hour in silence. And then some days it's just like 10 deep breaths and I go straight to my app and listen to something motivational. But there are so many resources and online, and like this one, for example, you've had a lot of great conversations, you know what I mean? So I'm so appreciative that you're sharing and caring, because you know what, you guys, just remember that there is hope and you are not alone. We're all going through something: physical, mental, spiritual, financial, something with your kids, something with your spouse, friend. So be kind to yourself and others.
Thank you. Those are some really great tips. One of the things I'm wondering about, though, is the holidays are just around the corner, and the holidays are going to look different this year. Celebrations are going to look different. Do you have any holiday-specific tips for keeping your spirits up?
Oh, that's so good. Holidays are admittedly hard, and I'll admit to you too that they started getting really hard in 2001, and I lost 4 family members in a year: my dad, my aunt took cancer, and my 2 grandmothers. And then later, my grandfather died, and then my brother-in-law committed suicide, just a few years ago. And holidays are hard because you're looking at those Instagram squares, y'all. People putting their, faux fake best lives up on here, right? And you're just like, oh, or Father's Day or Mother's Day, right? And so it is very hard. But my biggest advice is be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself and give back to others, because when you do those two things, it's sort of like this beautiful infinity of good energy that kind of goes back and forth. Sit with those feelings. A lot of people, granted, I should say too that I've told people that have come to me for kind of spiritual and mental health advice. I'm like, you know what, when you don't feel like getting up and doing work and working anymore, or, doing the daily things to be a responsible adult, feeding your kids and yourself, find medical attention, seek medical attention. I'm all about talking to psychologists and psychiatrists. Let's break that myth that is a bad or weird thing, right? But I really believe that in finding what that whatever it is that excites you is really important, and there is this sort of like GPS inside you, right? That, like, I love to be in nature. I love to read. I love to write, and I love to talk to people. And I love to have conversations with my soul brothers and soul sisters and my new BFF here, Grace. But those are certain things that I do that totally shift my spirit. I let myself sit and feel the feels, and I'll journal and I'll work through it and I sit with that. But then, once I process that, eventually I just know that when there's so many stormy days, like Maya Angelou said, there's always a rainbow in the clouds. Just know that it will get better. I promise it will. It just one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. And for you, it could be do something, go for a walk, be in nature, write, do your artwork, call a friend. That I can't tell you what to do because it's really so specific to who you are. But I think those are just some very helpful ways to just keep going. I went on a walk this morning. I saw the sign. I took a photo and it said, "Don't give up." And just seeing that was just like, oh, I have to remember to tell myself that and to tell people that, because in times like this, I've wanted to give up, and I'm like, hey, I eat well, I work out, I stay positive, I do my journals, you know what I mean? And I still am feeling this way. And you know what? Again, you are not alone. There is hope. And I love, love, love that I saw this somewhere on social media, so I can't claim this, but there was some quote that said, we are all going through the same storm, but we're on different boats. Some of us are on a yacht, some of us are on a life raft, right? So just have that compassion for yourself and others. That's so, so, so important.
Thank you so much for that, Twan. I see here, still hopeful after 267 days. Oh, she counted.
Okay,
For
counting, Francis.
267 days shelter in place, safe and happy holidays. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Love that spirit. Twan, it's such a pleasure speaking with you. We have time for just one more question. Do you have time for one more question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I have time for one more question. Okay, and that question is, I think post-election, many are feeling just exhausted and need to heal. Ooh. What tips do you have to be part of this healing?
Ooh, thanks for sharing that, Shay, via Sophie. Wow, you know what? I think it's so easy to get mad at somebody when you see, oh my God, you voted for Trump. Oh my God, you voted for, Biden. Oh my God, whatever, right? And I think that at the end of the day, a lot of us just want the best for our family and ourselves and our kids. And, I admit that I know people who voted for another candidate that I don't agree with in my family, and so it's just about, you know, sitting there and having compassion for them and trying to understand the journey. Because anytime somebody, just remember that whether it's election related or not, anytime somebody reacts a certain way, there's a root cause. Something has happened to them. And I'll tell you a really quick story about a gang member I interviewed. And I'm like, what happened? Why did you go to prison? I believe that we're all born good people and have goodwill. And he was like, I was a latchkey kid. My mom abused me. She put my hands on top of a burner, my 5-year-old hands, and burned my hands when I was playing with matches, when she locked me up one day when she went to work. And I found solace and found family in the gangs. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, it doesn't negate what they did, but if we can just have that compassion for others, I think that is really important. I mean, it's such a divisive and weird time, isn't it? Right. And I think that when I say start with you and how you react to other people, and then start having dialogue and feel why there's a reason why you're getting pissed off or you're getting angry, right? And again, going back to your holiday question, right? I think it's kind of a good thing that you're not seeing too many people during the holidays, because then, like certain family members that you just push to be up against, right? But no, I'm teasing. It's kinda. But I just think, honestly, 'tis the season, especially with the pandemic, is just to be kind to yourself and kind to other people, and the best way you know how. If that means, biting your tongue at the moment, or that means speaking up at the moment, whatever it is, it's such a there's no one way or one answer to do that. But I think that try this. When the next time somebody or family member, friend, or somebody says something that pisses you off and you feel it, try pausing just for a few breaths before you react. And then notice your reaction. I think that's really important.
Thank you, Tuan. I am going to take that piece of advice, even though I'm not celebrating with family in person. There is a lot of technology interactions, and the next time I hear something that I disagree with, I'm just going to take a pause.
Right. And, going back to your technology question too, really quickly, and your holiday question is, again, just because you're maybe alone or just with a few people, you don't have to feel lonely. Leverage technology. Get up on that technology. Get on your Zooms. Say your grace. Then take a break after you say your grace and say what you're grateful for and you say hi. Take a break. Then you guys can get back on. You can play board games later. You can have chats about and catch up later. But take those little breaks and take a break from the news. Take a break from social media all the time. Put your phone away. If you can, put it in another room. I don't have any notifications on my phone because I want to go be the person that goes into my social media and control it, not let it control me. So those are some other ways and other things you can do to be mindful this holiday.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, Tran. All these tips, gosh, I've walked away with so much. I am going to share this information with my friends and my family, and just want to tell you how much I appreciate you being with us today, and for all the inspiration you're providing for us on this live stream right now. For anyone who joined late, we had the wonderful opportunity of speaking with Tuan Lam, founder and chief inspirator at Go Inspire Go. To learn more about free and publicly available AARP resources to keep you uplifted, visit aarp.org/health. There you can find free guided meditations, tips for brain health, and ways to stay connected and engaged. And again, that website is aarp.org/health. Tuan, thank you again for joining us today, sharing your tips, what you do for yourself, what you suggest for others, for keeping our spirits up personally and professionally, in with our families. Just truly appreciate the inspiration. And to our viewers, we wish you a very wonderful day, and thanks so much for joining us on Facebook Live Webinar Wednesdays.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks, y'all. Happy holidays. Be kind.